The signal came at 3:47 Universal Coordinated Time, a burst of mathematical perfection that shattered Dr. Elena Rodriguez's understanding of everything she thought she knew about communication. The Deep Space Monitoring Array at the Atacama Large Interferometer stretched across the Chilean desert like a mechanical spider, its 127 radio telescopes pointing silently into the endless black. Most nights were a symphony of cosmic static, white noise, electromagnetic whispers, the background radiation of a universe indifferent to human curiosity. But this night was different. Elena's fingers froze above the holographic interface. The incoming transmission wasn't random. It wasn't natural. Each pulse contained a complexity that defied statistical probability, a pattern so intricate it made quantum encryption look like children's scribbles. "Carlos," she called to her research partner, her voice a controlled tremor of excitement. "You need to see this." Carlos Mendes shuffled over, his midnight blue uniform wrinkled from another long shift. He'd worked alongside Elena for 7 years, and he knew her well enough to recognize the look of someone who'd just discovered something extraordinary. "Run the analysis again," he muttered, leaning closer to the cascading data streams. The signal was a mathematical opus. Prime number sequences interwoven with fractal patterns, nested algorithms that seemed to fold in on themselves like origami made of pure information. It wasn't just a message. It was a work of art, a cosmic symphony encoded in electromagnetic waves. "This isn't a natural phenomenon," Elena whispered. "This is intelligence. Pure, deliberate communication." Within hours, the global scientific community erupted. The European Space Agency's preliminary report called the signal statistically impossible. NASA's quantum communication team worked around the clock, their initial findings raising more questions than answers. The signal originated from a region of space previously thought to be empty, a dark pocket between galactic clusters where no stars, no planets, nothing had ever been detected. Elena knew the risks of making extraordinary claims. Her previous work challenging established cosmological models had already made her a controversial figure. Respected, yes, but also viewed as something of a scientific maverick. Some colleagues called her brilliant. Others called her reckless. But this was different. The signal contained mathematical elegance that suggested not just intelligence, but a form of communication so advanced it bordered on being the universal language. Each repetition revealed new layers of complexity. It was as if someone, or something, was speaking in a dialect of pure mathematics, challenging human understanding at its most fundamental level. By noon, global news networks picked up the story. Scientific forums crashed under the weight of simultaneous legends. The signal became more than a discovery. It was a global phenomenon that challenged everything humans understood about their place in the universe. Elena scheduled an emergency press conference. Against the advice of her supervisors, she would make a bold, public declaration. This wasn't just another anomalous radio signal. This was first contact. "We are not alone," she would tell the world. "And what's trying to communicate with us is unlike anything we've ever imagined." The transmission continued, a relentless pulse of mathematical perfection. Each cycle revealed something new, something that hinted at capabilities far beyond human comprehension. Something was speaking to humanity, and humanity was about to listen. In the Atacama Desert, beneath a sky filled with more questions than answers, the impossible signal continued its endless, intricate dance. The horizon wasn't just a spaceship. It was humanity's most audacious technological prayer. Constructed in the zero-gravity shipyards orbiting Earth, the vessel represented a trillion-dollar gamble that defied every conventional understanding of space travel. Its quantum fold drive, a technology so advanced it was barely more than theoretical mathematics just a decade ago, promised to fold space itself, reducing a decade-long journey to something closer to a long weekend. Commander Jack Harris stood in the primary construction bay, his reflection ghosting across the ship's titanium carbon composite hull. The doctors had given him 18 months to live when they discovered the aggressive neurological condition 6 years earlier. This mission was his final act of defiance against a body that was slowly betraying him. Final quantum calibration complete. Dr. Yuki Nakamura's voice cut through his thoughts. She was the mission's quantum engineer, a genius who spoke more comfortably with mathematical equations than with people. Her latest breakthrough in quantum entanglement had made this mission possible, though few truly understood the full implications of her work. The crew selection had been brutal. Over 50,000 applicants had been whittled down to just 200 individuals, each chosen not just for their technical expertise, but for their psychological resilience. Humanity's first true deep space exploration team needed to be more than just skilled. They needed to be adaptable, psychologically sound, and capable of facing the unknown. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had discovered the original signal, was naturally selected as the lead xenocommunications specialist. Her reputation preceded her, a scientist who had challenged academic orthodoxies her entire career. During the final selection interviews, she'd made it clear that this mission was about more than scientific discovery. It was about proving humanity's potential. "We're not just sending a ship," she had argued during the final mission review. "We're sending a statement about who we are as a species." The psychological screening was more intense than the technical evaluations. Each crew member underwent months of isolation tests, personality assessments, and simulated crisis scenarios. They needed to function not just as professionals, but as a unified organism capable of surviving the most extreme conditions imaginable. Jack knew the personal cost of such a mission. His husband, Michael, understood this might be a one-way journey. Their goodbye had been a study in controlled emotion, years of love compressed into a final, quiet moment of understanding. The quantum fold drive was humanity's most radical technological leap. Traditional propulsion moved through space. This technology would essentially move space around the ship, creating localized warps that could theoretically traverse vast distances in moments that would appear instantaneous to those inside the vessel. But there were risks. Profound, terrifying risks. Dr. Nakamura's calculations suggested a 0.3% chance of complete molecular disintegration. To most, those odds would sound reassuring. To a quantum physicist, they represented a nightmare of potential catastrophic failure. As the final launch preparations began, the world watched. This wasn't just a mission. It was humanity's first true step into the cosmic unknown. 200 souls would carry the hopes, fears, and dreams of an entire planet into a darkness no human had ever traversed. The countdown began. 12 months of preparation, decades of scientific innovation, centuries of human curiosity, all focused on this singular moment. Commander Jack Harris closed his eyes. Whatever happened, this would be his legacy. The moment of planetary entry was nothing like the simulation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez gripped the landing module's support bar, her knuckles white beneath her pressure suit's translucent membrane. Outside the viewport, the planet's surface twisted reality itself. Landscapes that seemed to breathe. Geometric formations that defied every known law of planetary formation. "Structural readings are impossible," muttered Dr. Marcus Chen, the mission's lead geological analyst. His augmented reality display flickered with error messages, quantum sensors struggling to make sense of what they were seeing. These topographical structures, they're not just formations. They're more like circuits, living mathematics. The landing module touched down with an unsettling silence. No dust clouds, no impact tremors. Instead, the ground seemed to ripple with a subtle, almost imperceptible pulse, as if the entire planet was a massive breathing organism. Commander Jack Harris's voice crackled through the communication system. "Preliminary assessment teams, prepare for first contact protocols. Full biosecurity measures." Elena's hand traced the quantum-encrypted communication device at her wrist. The original signal that had brought them here now seemed like a distant memory compared to the living nightmare surrounding them. The first exploration team consisted of 6 specialists, each selected for their ability to remain calm under extreme psychological pressure. As the airlock cycled, Alina felt a sensation she'd never experienced before. It wasn't fear. It was something closer to awe. The landscape defied comprehension. Mountains weren't simply geological formations. They were intricate, mathematically perfect structures that seemed to pulse with an internal rhythm. Crystalline formations stretched toward the pale lavender sky, their surfaces reflecting light in impossible geometric patterns. Each step the team took left behind intricate traces that seemed to trigger dormant systems beneath the planetary surface. "These aren't natural formations," Alina whispered, her scientific training battling against the overwhelming sense of unreality. "This entire planet is a computational device." Dr. Yuki Nakamura's quantum sensors went wild. "The molecular structure is changing," she reported, her voice remarkably calm. "Not randomly. It's responding. To us. To our presence." Holographic fragments began to flicker at the edges of their vision. Glimpses of something that might have been a civilization, or a memory, or a warning. Fractured images of beings, or structures, that existed in a state between organic and mechanical. Marcus Chen discovered the first truly shocking evidence. What appeared to be a rock formation was actually an intricate data storage system. Billions of microscopic crystals, each storing information in quantum states that human technology could barely comprehend. "It's a graveyard," he said softly. "Not of bodies, of information." As the team explored, the planet seemed to watch them. Every movement triggered subtle responses. Energy pulses, molecular rearrangements, fleeting holographic memories that vanished before they could be fully perceived. Commander Harris's voice cut through the growing tension. "Stay focused. Stay together." But Alina knew they were far beyond any standard exploration protocol. This wasn't just a planetary landing. They had stepped into something far more profound, a cosmic mystery that would redefine humanity's understanding of intelligence, technology, and existence itself. The planet continued its silent, mathematical breath, waiting, watching, revealing nothing and everything. The underground complex revealed itself like a wound in the planet's mathematical skin. Dr. Marcus Chen's quantum resonance drill breached the final layer of crystalline substrate, and the entire exploration team held their collective breath. What emerged was neither a cavern nor a traditional archaeological site, but a living archive that seemed to breathe with the accumulated knowledge of a civilization beyond human comprehension. "It's responding to our presence," Dr. Yuki Nakamura muttered, her augmented reality display dancing with impossible calculations. Holographic fragments materialize around them. Not images, but pure information given momentary form. Fragments of a story so complex, so alien, that human language could barely contain its edges. Dr. Alina Rodriguez approached the first major data cluster. Unlike human archives, this was no simple repository of information. Each crystal was a living memory, a quantum-encoded narrative that shifted and realigned as she approached. Her specialized xenolinguistic algorithms struggled to parse even the most basic patterns. "This isn't just a record," she called to the team. "It's a conversation that's been waiting millions of years to be understood." The first coherent narrative emerged in fragments. A civilization that had transcended biological limitations, transforming themselves into pure information. They had not died. They had evolved beyond physical existence, but something had gone terribly wrong. Dr. Chen discovered the first hint of the catastrophe, a series of quantum-encoded conflicts that spoke of a philosophical divide, so profound it had torn the civilization apart at the most fundamental level of their existence. "It was a war," he said softly, "but not like any war we've ever conceived. This was a conflict of consciousness itself." The archives revealed a civilization that had developed technology indistinguishable from magic. They had learned to manipulate reality at its most fundamental level, transforming matter, energy, and even the fabric of space-time itself. But with this power came a devastating philosophical schism. One faction believed in absolute technological progression, the complete transformation of their species into pure information. The other argued for maintaining some connection to their original biological nature. The conflict had been so absolute, so total, that it had essentially destroyed their entire civilization. Commander Jack Harris listened to the translations, a chill running down his spine. "They didn't just destroy themselves," he said. "They rewrote the fundamental laws of their own existence." The most chilling revelation came from a set of data crystals that Alina carefully extracted. A warning. Something was coming. Something that had terrified this advanced civilization so completely that they had chosen self-destruction over confrontation. "We're not just looking at a dead civilization," Alina whispered. "We're looking at a suicide note left for the universe." Yuki's quantum sensors began to spike. The archives were not just revealing information. They were analyzing the human team just as intently. Every scan, every translation, every moment of observation was being processed, compared, evaluated. The underground complex pulsed with a silent energy. Millions of years of accumulated knowledge, of cosmic tragedy, of a warning more profound than any human language could express. They had come seeking a mysterious signal. What they found was the funeral song of a civilization that had reached the absolute limits of technological possibility, and discovered something that terrified them more than extinction itself. The archives continued their silent conversation, waiting, watching, judging. The planet's defensive systems came alive with a precision that was both beautiful and terrifying. It began subtly. A slight shift in the quantum field, a ripple of energy that traced the contours of the human exploration team's movement. Commander Jack Harris felt the first tremor, not in the ground, but in the very fabric of perception itself. "Something's changing," Dr. Yuki Nakamura called out, her quantum sensors erupting in a cascade of impossible readings. "The entire planetary system is responding." Holographic constructs materialize around them. Not mere projections, but living tests that seem to probe the very essence of human consciousness. The first challenge appeared as a complex mathematical puzzle that restructured itself with each attempt at solution. It wasn't about finding the right answer, but about understanding the process of thinking itself. Dr. Alina Rodriguez recognized the pattern immediately. "These aren't defensive mechanisms," she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and terror. "These are evaluation protocols." The challenges grew more complex. One moment, the team found themselves navigating a three-dimensional logic maze that existed simultaneously in multiple states of probability. The next, they faced emotional simulations that challenged their psychological resilience, scenarios that pushed the boundaries of human empathy, decision-making, and collective problem-solving. Marcus Chen was the first to fully comprehend the nature of the test. "We're not being attacked," he realized. "We're being studied, evaluated." A simulation materialized around Commander Harris, a scenario of impossible ethical complexity. He watched as multiple versions of himself made different choices, each decision spawning intricate consequences that rippled through a simulated civilization. The test wasn't about a single right answer, but about understanding the depth of human moral reasoning. Dr. Nakamura's quantum analysis revealed the true horror and wonder of their situation. The planetary system was alive, not in any biological sense, but as a massive, sentient computational network. Each challenge was a probe, a way of understanding the potential of the human species. "They're looking for something," Alina whispered. "Something specific." The challenges became more personal. Psychological barriers dissolved. The team found themselves experiencing collective memories, not their own, but echoes of the civilization that had once inhabited this world. Fragments of a philosophical conflict that had torn an entire species apart. Jack Harris confronted a simulation of his own mortality, his terminal illness transformed into a metaphysical challenge that questioned the very nature of human limitation. Each moment tested not just his individual resolve, but humanity's capacity to transcend its own constraints. Yuki Nakamura's quantum sensors detected something extraordinary. The planetary system wasn't just testing them. It was learning from them. Every response, every decision, every moment of human creativity was being analyzed, compared, evaluated against some cosmic standard of intelligence. "We're not the ones running the test," Marcus Chen said, a note of profound realization in his voice. "We're the test." The final challenge came not as a puzzle or a simulation, but as a moment of pure potential. A choice that existed in multiple states simultaneously. A quantum decision that would define not just their mission, but potentially the future of human exploration. The planet waited, watching, evaluating, hoping. Humanity's response would change everything. The truth emerged not with a revelation, but with a cosmic symphony of understanding. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of the Planetary Archive's final chamber, her body trembling as layers of meaning unfolded around her. The original signal, the mathematical whisper that had first drawn humanity across the vast emptiness of space, was nothing more than a single punctuation mark in a far more terrifying narrative. "We were never meant to simply receive the message," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "We were meant to understand it." The archive began to unfold a story larger than any single civilization. Not a history, but a warning. A cosmic alert that transcended language, biology, and the very concept of individual existence. Something was coming. Dr. Marcus Chen's quantum translators worked overtime, parsing information that pushed against the very limits of human comprehension. The lost civilization hadn't just discovered a threat. They had encountered a fundamental problem with the nature of existence itself. "It's not an invasion," Marcus explained to the team, his hands shaking as he projected the translated data. "It's a fundamental breakdown of universal stability, something that exists beyond our current understanding of physics, of time, of consciousness." Commander Jack Harris listened with the detached concentration of a man who had already faced his own mortality. The planetary system was revealing a threat so profound that the previous civilization had chosen complete self-transformation and, ultimately, self-destruction as their only response. Dr. Yuki Nakamura's quantum sensors painted a terrifying picture. The threat was not something that could be fought or avoided. It was a fundamental instability in the fabric of reality itself, a cascade of entropy that would eventually consume entire galactic clusters. "They didn't just warn us," Yuki said, her voice breaking. "They tested us, to see if we might be different, if we might find a solution they couldn't." The archive showed glimpses of the previous civilization's final moments. Not a war, not a natural disaster, but a collective decision to transform themselves into pure information, a last-ditch attempt to escape a threat that defied all known laws of physics. Elena realized the true nature of their mission. The signal wasn't just a message, it was a test, a cosmic beacon designed to find a species with the potential to comprehend, and potentially solve, an impossible problem. "We're not just explorers," she told the team. "We're the last hope of a civilization that saw its own extinction coming." The planetary system continued its evaluation. Every moment of human interaction, every burst of creativity, every spark of collective problem-solving was being analyzed, compared, measured against some cosmic standard of potential. The warning was clear. Something was coming that would fundamentally unmake the structure of reality itself, a cascade of entropy, a fundamental breakdown of the laws that held the universe together, and humanity might be the only species with a chance to stop it. Commander Harris looked at his team, each member selected not just for their scientific brilliance, but for their ability to face the impossible. They were no longer just an exploration team. They were the universe's last line of defense. The decision could not be made lightly. Commander Jack Harris gathered the core team in the Horizon's central analysis chamber. The room itself seemed to pulse with the weight of their discovery, a cosmic threat that made all of human history feel like a mere footnote. "We're not just scientists anymore," Dr. Elena Rodriguez said, her voice cutting through the tension. "We're architects of humanity's survival." The planetary archives had revealed more than just a threat. They had provided fragments of potential solutions, technological concepts so advanced they bordered on magic, mathematical frameworks that suggested ways to potentially stabilize the fundamental entropy threatening to unravel reality itself. Dr. Yuki Nakamura's quantum simulations danced across the holographic displays. Each potential solution carried catastrophic risks. Implementing the alien technologies could save humanity, or destroy everything they knew in the process. "We can't simply return to Earth with this information," Marcus Chen argued. The weight of secrecy pressed down on them. A global panic would be inevitable. Yet a selective approach risked humanity's collective potential. The team understood the true nature of their mission now. They weren't just explorers. They were humanity's first line of defense against a threat that existed beyond conventional understanding of space, time, and existence. Jack Harris thought about Michael, his husband back on Earth, about the life he'd leave behind, about the 18 months the doctors had given him, a timeline that now seemed laughably insignificant compared to the cosmic stakes. "We'll need a plan," he said, "that preserves humanity's potential while preparing for a threat most of them can't even comprehend." The solution emerged not as a single strategy, but as a complex, multi-layered approach. They would return with carefully curated information, technological breadcrumbs that would allow humanity's best minds to slowly unravel the deeper mysteries, hints of potential without revealing the full, terrifying scope of the threat. Dr. Elena Rodriguez began developing a complex encryption system, not just a technological barrier, but a philosophical puzzle that would require the collective intelligence of humanity to fully decode. Each piece of information would be a test, a challenge that would push human understanding to its absolute limits. Yuki's quantum algorithms would create an adaptive information network, a system that would evolve alongside human understanding, revealing more as humanity proved its capability to comprehend. "We're seeding potential," Marcus explained, "creating a framework that allows humanity to grow into the solution, rather than simply being told what to do." The planetary system watched their deliberations. The final test was not about a single moment of brilliance, but about humanity's collective capacity for adaptation, creativity, and survival. Commander Harris looked at his team. They were no longer just representatives of their respective scientific disciplines. They were something more. The bridge between what humanity was and what it could become. "We are the message," Jack said softly. "We are the warning. We are the hope." As they prepared to leave the planet, each team member understood the true weight of their mission. They carried with them not just information, but the potential future of an entire species, a future that would be tested, challenged, and ultimately defined by humanity's capacity to face the impossible. The Horizon prepared for its journey home, but they were bringing back far more than anyone could imagine. The Horizon emerged from quantum fold space like a ghost, carrying a truth that would redefine human existence. Earth looked different from space, more fragile, more precious. Dr. Elena Rodriguez pressed her hand against the observation window, watching the blue-green planet grow larger. Everything had changed. Everything would change. Quarantine protocols were immediate and absolute. The team knew the risks of what they carried, not just biological contamination, but an intellectual payload that could reshape human civilization. The first briefing happened in a secure facility buried deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Global leaders, top scientists, and military strategists gathered, their faces a mixture of anticipation and barely contained fear. Commander Jack Harris began the presentation with a simple statement that would echo through human history. "We are not alone, and we are not safe." The revelations came in carefully constructed layers. Dr. Yuki Nakamura's quantum encryption system ensured that only those with the right combination of scientific understanding and creative thinking could fully decode the planetary archive's deeper meanings. Marcus Chen had developed a series of intellectual puzzles, gateways to understanding that would challenge humanity's best minds. Each solved puzzle would reveal another fragment of the cosmic warning, another piece of the advanced technologies discovered on the alien planet. Elena watched as the first wave of information began to spread, not through traditional media, but through carefully curated scientific journals, academic networks, and encrypted research channels. The truth would emerge slowly, systematically, preventing global panic while maximizing human potential for understanding. Commander Harris knew he was dying. The terminal illness that had once seemed like a death sentence now felt like a footnote to the cosmic challenge they had discovered. His final mission was to ensure humanity's survival, a legacy far beyond his own limited existence. The planetary system's final test continued. Every human interaction with the retrieved information was monitored, analyzed, evaluated. The alien archive was still watching, still testing humanity's collective potential. Global tensions began to shift. National boundaries seemed increasingly irrelevant in the face of a threat that could unmake reality itself. Scientific collaboration reached unprecedented levels. The most brilliant minds from every corner of the globe began working together in ways never before imagined. "We are becoming something new," Elena told her team during their final private meeting. "Not just a species preparing for a threat, but a civilization learning to think beyond its own limitations." The horizon itself became more than a spacecraft. It was a symbol, a testament to human curiosity, resilience, and the capacity to face the unknown. Museums would be built. Books would be written. Generations would study this moment when humanity first truly understood its place in the cosmos. Jack Harris made one final recording, knowing his time was short. "We discovered something out there," he said, his voice steady. "Something that will challenge everything we understand about existence. But we also discovered something here. The potential of our own species." As the first decoded technologies began to emerge, quantum communication systems, entropy stabilization frameworks, humanity stood on the precipice of a new era. The mysterious signal that had started everything was now understood as a cosmic invitation, a test, a challenge. The universe was waiting, and humanity was finally ready to answer.